Hello, everybody. It's Sean Kelleher, the historian from the town of Saratoga, and I have a Substack called Pass Pass, and I am at Saratoga National Historical Park. You can probably tell that it is windy, so I'm going to walk and move a little bit, and I'm going to head right over here to the Nielsen House. There you go. And I'm here today, and I'm hoping to get a little refuge in this house to talk to you about Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Uh, Thanksgiving has a very, very special tie to Saratoga. And I'm going to start off by mentioning we're just talking, or if you see the headline for this, I mentioned eagles. Because when I pulled up to the battlefield today, there was an eagle flying and it just caught some of this wind and it went up and up and up so high I couldn't show it. But, it's just great seeing the white tail feathers or the mistake or the white head, clearly an eagle. And eagles, of course, our national bird. And for those of us who watched the play or the movie 1776, we all know about Franklin wanting the turkey to be the national bird. So on this Thanksgiving, it just seems to make sense. The eagles and turkeys should be intermixed. But I'm here at this Nielsen house, and I want to talk about the original Thanksgiving, the original national Thanksgiving, which happened December 18th, 1777, not the last Thursday in November. That's kind of a newer thing. And it was given by Congress to celebrate the American victory here at Saratoga. So I'm going to look at some of my notes as I work through this. And it what people experienced that day depended entirely upon where they were. So I always kind of wonder, this Nielsen House, which is a witness house, it was here in 1777, what their Thanksgiving must have been like. We do know that most of the people here probably had cautious hope in relief. They know that the army had been stopped. The British army that invaded from Canada had been stopped. General Horatio Gates, the victor from here, was in Albany, and he wrote to his wife that the day that was kept here was a general Thanksgiving. The troops cleaned up that were around. The clergy moved through the brigades, sharing psalms and preaching about Thanksgiving. And the people started to get some relief from their fear and their hunger, and they were no longer refugees. And the chaos that followed the surrender, that was starting to move away. Remember, the surrender was 2 months and a day before, prior to the Thanksgiving. They weren't celebrating wealth, but they were celebrating survival. Then New England was something similar. There's accounts from Worcester and Westboro that the meeting houses were full. The Reverend Ebenezer Parkman preached Psalm 72, and we know that they were also, for certain, singing a lot of Watts hymnals. And if you look at my Substack today, I actually have a Watts hymnal there. It was a quiet reminder of the social rhythm of wartime. There were sermons, there were long tables, there was hospitality, all things that we would recognize today. And then as you get a little bit closer, Philadelphia, that was an occupied city at this point. So there was no Thanksgiving celebrations. The British had that city and they didn't celebrate. And then Washington's army, which included many of the veterans here from Saratoga, they were heading towards Valley Forge. They hadn't made it there yet, but they were in Pennsylvania. They fought their last major battle, which wasn't really a battle. The two armies kind of got close at White Marsh, but they didn't really meet up. But they ended up, we know what happened because of Joseph Plum Martin, the diarist. He was a Connecticut Yankee soldier. And he left a striking account that although Congress called for a day of feasting and Thanksgiving, him and the soldiers just basically had rum and a half gill of vinegar. Still, the ministers gathered them up and preached to them. He felt that they had nothing to be thankful for, but cannons were fired and a proclamation was read. And the idea of Saratoga, this sudden world changing victory, move with them, but they felt it was a little thin. What they didn't know, of course, what was happening on the other side of the world in Paris. Um, that Franklin was still working the salons there and working towards this great alliance between France and the United States after Saratoga. So I often wonder with this house here, and I guess I'm going to walk over here to the window and this house here, that's a beautiful reflection what their Thanksgiving was like. But we know that various people had various Thanksgivings in 1777. But it was from this ridge line here that world history changed, and it was celebrated with our first national Thanksgiving. I hope everybody really enjoys their Thanksgiving and has a great day. I'll see you later.